The following is a special presentation.
Hi, this is Tom Vigorito, former Miami Dolphin, and you're listening to the Miami Dolphin Legends Show with Pat Catello.
It's the Miami Dolphins Legends Show with Pat Catello. Join us now as we talk Dolphins football, or call in live with your questions or comments. And now, here's your host, Pat Catello.
Joining us this evening is one of the more popular Miami Dolphin alumni from the past, known as an explosive and versatile running back. Tommy Vigorito was also a mainstay as the punt returner of the 1980s. Tommy, how are you this evening, and welcome to the show.
Good, Pat. Thanks for having me.
Now, Tommy, your name was in the news recently with Ted Ginn last week having an explosive punt return for a touchdown of his own of 87 yards, and ironically that tied the long mark that you had set in your rookie year. Did you think about that at all?
No, I came into my father's house just after he did it, and he goes, somebody tied your record. And then he made everybody be quiet for the rest of the program and for the rest of the game, and because he wanted to know if they heard my name. So I think the only one who was bummed out was my father.
Oh, man. So you didn't. So obviously you knew you had the record. It was something that was, I guess, in the back of your mind. And sometimes, as we see with Marino now, when these records get broken, it's almost that's when you kind of get in the limelight.
Yeah, I mean, even like I work up in New York City, and we use Bloomberg a lot, and a lot of guys down at Bloomberg News know that they know that I played with the Dolphins. So when that happened, like everybody would send me messages and stuff that you see they tied your record and stuff. So you get another 2.5 minutes of your 15 minutes of fame. So everybody gave me a call. I got a lot of emails and stuff.
Now, that punt return that you originally had was in your rookie year. Tell me something about that. Now, it was against the Pittsburgh Steelers, I believe?
Yeah, it was actually pretty neat because it was my rookie year. We opened up in St. Louis on Sunday, and it was the first, I'm pretty sure it was the first year that they had Monday Night Football on a Thursday night. So it was the Thursday night edition of Monday Night Football. And that was like, the Steelers just got done winning all the Super Bowls, and it's my rookie year, but I don't think the team was that good the previous 2 or 3 years. So it was kind of like turning a corner for us, because then we went to the playoffs every year and went to 2 Super Bowls the next couple of years. So it was like the passing of the baton between, the Steelers and the Dolphins in the AFC.
Sure.
And, the big thing about it was, which is funny because everybody says it's so hard to be a punt returner. I just caught the ball and ran. I didn't get touched. And, it was exhausting. But everybody that I knew growing up with, went to college with or whatever, everybody saw it because it was on, Monday Night Football. And it was neat. And actually, I forget who it was, Lambert was playing for the Steelers or something. And, like, sometime during the week or something, somebody interviewed him, because I ran like a 4.40. And he said, no white guy runs that fast. And then, like, after the game, he goes, I guess he does run that fast.
Yeah, you certainly did have speed. There's no doubt about it. And it's ironic. You were actually one of my favorite players in those years as growing up myself. And I remember, I think it was opening day in 82 against the Jets, where you had another one that came to mind. The second I seen Ginn run it, I said, I remember Vigorito running one against the Jets. And, there's not too many in Dolphin history. I think you're tied for first currently with 2, and I think McDuffie has it and Freddie Solomon, so there's not too many, but that one also came to mind. Do you remember that one?
Yeah, definitely. Actually, that was more, memorable for me because it was, like you say, you grew up in Jersey, and all my friends and family were there. We were playing at Shea Stadium. It was my second year, and actually it was a much better return as far as making moves and making cuts and stuff. And in fact, Nat Moore, he used to help me with the punt returns. And he was always telling me, you got your first move, you got to get inside the outside guy and then get to the outside. And the Pittsburgh one, that was just, I ran around the end and just nobody touched me. This one actually did the move he was talking about, and he was probably more excited about it than I was, but because we worked on it for so much. A lot of people think this stuff happens, but we actually practice it and work on it.
So it is something that's choreographed to a degree.
Yeah.
Why do you think there's the drop-off in the big returns from today's game?
Very, very, well, to me, it's very simple. There's more guys on the roster, so they can keep more special team guys. So those guys are more interested in performing better. It's not a starter on a special team. It's a guy who's sitting on the bench the only time he gets to play is a special team. And the linebackers and the extra guys they keep are bigger and faster.
Yeah, that's a very valid point.
You know, when I played, it was 43 guys, I think, my first year. Then it went to 45. So you take out your defense and offensive linemen and, you know, the stars that can't get touched. You don't have that many guys for special teams. Now what do they have, 55 guys, I think?
Yeah, they sure do.
So,
yeah.
you know, you got guys who are nothing but special team players.
That's true. That's their only
And I think that and the fact that everybody's faster. The big guys are faster. Like, the big guys went from 4.8, 4.7s to 4.5, 4.6s. The small guys are still 4.4, 4.3.
Yeah, which makes
so the spread is getting narrower, you know. So.
Yeah, it certainly is. Now, you mentioned a little bit earlier that you know, people say it's the toughest thing to do in football. I would have to, you know, tend to agree with that. What is the hardest thing about returning a punt?
See, it's not so much hard at returning the punt. It's catching the ball. Shula liked it me back there. He really didn't care so much even how far I returned the ball. He just loved me because I never dropped the ball. Mm-hmm. And you figure if you're catching the punt return, you're on the other side of the 50. So even if you drop it and they recover, you're giving them up at least a field goal. Yeah. So the trick was to make sure you catch the ball and not fumble it, not so much get big returns. And the ball, guys punt. In fact, God, you can remember before I can't. We had our punter, George. I can't remember his last name. George Roberts, right. He was lefty. So in practice all week, when the point is up, the ball curves to your left. When the point is down, it curves to your right. Well, he was just the opposite. And so, you know, we had practice all week with him, and then the ball would be curving the other way. That was the hardest part for me. And, you know, it's just like catching a fly ball, a catcher catching a fly ball, like a pop-up. You know, because the wind takes it, it curves and all. Sometimes they're end over end, sometimes they spiral in one way, sometimes they spiral in the other way. So the hard part is not running it, it's catching it.
Back then, early 80s, the fair catch, I guess, was just coming into play, used, you know, more prominently. How did that, you know, affect your thinking as far as catching it? I know you weren't a huge fair catch guy.
No, what it was is, I mean, the thing is the defensive guys came down in shells, we call it, or waves. So the two flyers came down. Now, they couldn't leave until the ball was punted. So you could look down and once the ball was kicked to see how easy they released. And then you just get a feeling you do so many of them. You get a feeling for how high the ball is, how much time they need to run down, how far it is. And even if you don't fair catch, they have to give you a yard. So unless they timed it perfectly, you could probably get away with catching everything and never fair catching it. But if you didn't call a fair catch and fumble it, Shula would be pissed off at you. So, But it's really not that big a deal. See, my thing was they wanted me to do kickoffs, and I hated kickoff returns because it's 11 guys running full speed at you, and they're all 6'4", you know, 240.
Sure.
And they're not coming down in waves, and they're not giving you yard notice. They just come flying full speed into you. So I didn't mind. Punts were better than kickoffs, I thought, anyway.
Now, this year the Miami Dolphins have taken some scrutiny in their first-round pick in Ted Ginn Jr., but the one thing that he was valued at was, you know, an explosive special teams player, a la, you know, punt returns, kickoff returns, and of course we've seen that last week. Have you taken an interest in him, and have you know, watched his play throughout this season? Do you still follow the team?
Nah, not really. I mean, if the game is on, I'll watch it. I mean, I was cognizant of the criticism the head coach got for making the pick. I was actually watching the draft that day, and my thought was, God, that's his name, King Cameron. See, I don't even remember the guy's name, but, you know, they asked him, well, why did he pick him? And, you know, he made a comment about that. He knew the family for the last 10 years and knew the kid. And my immediate feeling was, and I'll be the first to tell you, I don't know enough of the backstory, that's not a good reason for making somebody your first-round pick because you know the family.
Right.
And he probably just meant it in a nonchalant way. But to me, that didn't explain why he made the pick. So.
Well, I think, I guess some of it, you know, might have had to do with the off-the-field problems that the Dolphins have had with some personnel, and these days getting somebody who's level-headed, and that is
right. I'm sure he was alluding to that. It just sounded funny, but and I don't know. I mean, I'm not that big a fan to follow it, and all I could say is I was not shocked by it because I could care less. It struck me as weird considering some of the media, what the media was saying about the other players available.
Right.
Basically, all my mumbling. I really don't know whether it was a good pick or bad pick.
Right. Well, the one thing that we have seen, last game and in the last few games is that Ted Ginn does have explosive speed, and that's one thing that you were tabbed to have, and you certainly did have. Like you said, I think you ran a 4.4, 40 coming out of Virginia.
Yes.
And that's something that you don't see that often. Is that something that you can develop, or was that something that you just naturally had from,
I was fast and faster than, everybody my age since I was a little kid. I mean, I remember we moved from Clifton, New Jersey to Wayne, New Jersey when I was like 7 or 8. And the first day for football practice, they had wind sprints. And, I beat everybody by 5 yards, and I was 8 years old. So that was always the case. And then obviously when you have a gift, you work on it, develop it through conditioning, lifting, endurance exercises. So, I mean, I actually loved baseball more than football, but my junior and senior in high school, I ran out for track to develop my speed for football. So, I mean, I tried to do things that, to make it better or faster or whatever.
Right. And then, ironically, as we're talking about punt returning, I think it was, and I could be wrong, but I believe opening day you actually got injured on a punt return. Was it a punt return?
Yeah, punt returns have been good and bad to me. It was the opening day Buffalo, 1983, after we lost to the Super Bowl Redskins the following year.
Okay.
And I was like actually it's funny, as I was the leading receiver on the team in 82. And that was a strike year. That's got to be a trivia question. Least amount of catches to lead a team receiving. But it was like the end of a 63-yard punt return. I got hurt on like the 8 or 9 yard line.
Yeah, I remember.
One of the up back got hurt on the play. And when I was running down the field, actually Jensen, or we were just talking about crashes, he was blocking, and he blocked the punter. So I figured once I was past the punter, I figured I was gone. And then I looked up, and the guy who got hurt on the play was there. And then he hit me, and somebody dove from behind, and my leg got all mangled up. But that was Marino's first game. He started the second half. In fact, Catello and I both got hurt that day.
Yeah, I was going to say, from what I recall from that game, I think the Dolphins had won the game, but not pretty. But the big gloom was, in the press conference that I think you guys lost, 3 starters that day up in Buffalo. And Catello, like you mentioned, was
I don't know who the third was, but it was Jimmy, me, and somebody else did get hurt,
Okay, so now take me through. We talked a little bit about New Jersey. You grew up in New Jersey from Passaic in the Wayne area, DePaul High School?
Yes.
Okay, and so obviously you won a state championship there. I remember hearing that because I'm obviously from New Jersey myself.
We beat Bergen Catholic my junior year. It was David versus Goliath. I mean, we had like 500 kids at school. They probably had 1,500 kids in the school. It was different then. We were just barely parochial A.
Right.
And not parochial B. And we had to play like them, Don Bosco, St. Joe's.
Yeah, I'm a Don Bosco.
Yeah, exactly.
Anytime I could just hear in Bergen lose,
that's exactly.
With a smile on my face. Okay, so now after there, you recruited, you obviously had some choices, or how did you pick?
Yeah, basically I could have went, my 6 visits were Notre Dame, Purdue, Penn State, BC, and Duke, and Virginia.
Okay.
And basically it came down, Notre Dame was in the cornfield, and I went out there in October, and they had 3 feet of snow, so there's no way I was going there. And what Penn State does is, defense wins games, offense sells tickets.
Right.
They put everybody on defense first. If you don't make it on defense, then you go to offense.
Right.
And I wanted to be a running back, and then, I wanted to get a good education, so I ended up going to Virginia.
And you enjoyed your tenure there? Obviously,
it was good. It was a little different. It was definitely Southern.
Okay.
And I was from Jersey, so I don't know if I fit in too well, but it was good. It was all right.
Okay, you finish up, a very good college career there. Did you have, an idea that you would get drafted? I don't know. You were drafted.
I was all ACC my junior year. I think second team my senior. I mean, you kind of know the scouts come around and stuff. I mean, I just had a feeling I'd get drafted. I mean, I got drafted in the 5th round by Miami. What happened was, I forget what it was, but the Giants had a 4th round pick. And that's where I thought I was going to go. That's where I wanted to go because I wanted to play at home.
Right.
But they picked some tight end for Purdue. I forget the guy's name. He ended up not making it. And I was really bummed out that they didn't take me in the 4th round. But then the Dolphins got me in the 5th round.
So what was your feeling after you got over the disappointment of not coming home to going to a Don Shula run organization that had so much success in the past? Were you excited about that?
Yeah, I was more excited. I was going down where it was warm. I hate playing in cold weather. So, I mean, the thing is, when that happens, I mean, it's kind of weird. You kind of just, it's not that you take it for granted. You say, okay, this is who drafted me. Okay, this is what I got to do. And, because right away you get on a plane and go down there and work out. So it's not like you get time to reflect about it and try to figure out whether it's good, bad, or indifferent. And, I wasn't a fan, so I didn't even, I knew the Dolphins won the Super Bowls in the 70s and stuff, but I thought it was pretty cool. And a lot of people said that, Coach Shula likes smart players and all. And so I thought that was going to be, in my benefit going in.
Right. And it turned out that it was, right? I mean, I remember, Shula seemed like you were one of his favorite guys.
I mean, he'd probably never admit it, but I tell you what, I tell everybody that the fact that, I didn't have to hear the audible or go through the play 100 times before I figured it out saved me and helped me make the team every year.
Right.
And even when I was hurt, though, they let me. They wanted me to travel with them. I missed a year, so I would go to practice and run scout teams and go to the away games. And during the game, I'd go up in the booth and read defenses. I'd help them with the reading the defenses.
So that definitely gave you an edge on that team.
And I liked it. I enjoyed it. I mean, you get bored just doing nothing. So.
Yeah, and when you look back on it, you went to a Don Shula coach team, and I would say, at the time that you arrived there, Don Shula was still at the top of his game, arguably the best coach in football. What was the situation like as far as how he coached? A
lot of people ask me that. And the thing I was shocked about is you've got a picture, we're in a classroom with our offensive meetings. I sat in the front because I was a little brown-nosed. He sat right next to me in every meeting. He was at every single meeting. And then we went on the field, he led calisthenics. I was shocked about the fact that he was so involved in every little detail, and not just by delegating it. He would do it himself. And that's what surprised me. I mean, he was more involved in that stuff than our college coaches were.
Wow.
I mean, even like the offensive meetings, it wasn't like they had the offensive coordinator run the meeting and he'd be back in the office. He was in every single meeting right up front going over every single play.
And at that time you were at St. Thomas University, which is,
right.
Certainly not, one of
Well, it was Biscayne College when I got there.
Oh, it was Biscayne. Okay.
Then they decided to change it after me. So.
So certainly not one of the most luxurious training camps in the NFL.
That was the other shock. We got to the first time we got there, we went down there, and it was a dump. I mean, it was really a dump. And the weight machines were outside, like on a covered porch, the Nautilus and stuff, and they're like rusting and stuff. And I looked, and I called my father up and said, "This place is a dump."
That really is the first impression that you get. I remember.
The carpet was like all chewed up with holes in it. It stunk. I mean, it was really disgusting, but we were successful there, so that's all that matters.
Sure were. Yeah, sure were. Okay, so now you started off there. Obviously, right out of the gate, we talked about the 1981 punt return that you have against Pittsburgh. So you start out, on a real high note. The following year, now you go to a Super Bowl and you're a mainstay on that team. What was that experience like?
That was cool. The only not problem, the only thing weird about the Super Bowl was a strike year. So first of all, we were out 9 games. I think our record was, because we played an extra game or we missed 7 games, whatever it was. We were 7-2 or something. So we missed 7 games. and it was an extra playoff game. So you played 3 of them. This was before the wild card.
Right.
But because of the strike, they wanted to get more people involved. And the thing was, we won. Who did we beat there? Oh, we beat the Jets that year. That was right. That was the AFC Championship game. It was the Jet game. That was the Mud Bowl. And since we're on the radio, tell everybody the Jets. They said that Shula didn't put the tarp down. The Orange Bowl did not have a tarp, so it wasn't matter even making a choice of putting the tarp down. There was no tarp.
All right. You heard it here.
I hear it 100 times a year. They tell me about that stuff up here. You know, they had the system where they had a vacuum where it sucked the water down underneath and pump it out, but it just rained too hard. There is no tarp not to put on the field.
You know what bothers me so much about that, and I know Rich Van Zandt, who's on the radio up here, has touched on it. They keep talking like they were the better team. You beat them three
times that year. I know.
I mean, 3 times.
And the first game was that punt return you were just talking about. We beat them 48-28.
I remember that, and then you had the second game was the Von Schaman field goal
exactly.
in 2019, and then obviously you had the.
Actually, I dropped the punt that game, and they kicked the field goal. That was like the only punt I ever dropped the whole time I was down there.
Wow.
But we ended up winning it. But and then so Sunday night we win the game. We got to leave Monday or Tuesday to go to California for the Super Bowl. So it was just so quick. You didn't enjoy it.
You didn't have to buy because of the strike, right?
Right. So there was no luxury of enjoying it. It was this, big bang boom, and you were gone.
Wow.
But it was fun. I mean, I tell you what, there's nothing worse in your later years of not having won that Super Bowl.
So it's still
it kills you.
It's a Super Bowl that I felt that we certainly could have won. And
we were winning the game. We didn't complete one pass in the second half. Now we're a pro football team. We didn't complete one pass in the second half. It's just amazing. And the fact that it started off so good, Zeffalo had that long run. We went up 7-0 and stuff. And the whole game hinged on the fact it was the end of the third quarter before Riggins had that big run.
Right.
And Redskins are backed up. Theismann's in the end zone, throws the ball. Bo Camper bats it down, or somebody else bats it down, but Bo Camper goes to catch it. And he goes to catch it at his waist level in the end zone.
Yep. And
Theismann jumps out and knocks it down. Instead of reaching up and catching it, we score a touchdown there and we go up 10. I think it was 10 or 14. Riggins would have never had that run. They would have never won the game.
I know. That's what's so hard to take.
Yep.
I talked to Bo Camper time and again, and he tells me there's still not a 2-month span that goes by that he doesn't have a nightmare about that game.
No, I believe you. If he reaches his hands up and catches it, not that he did anything wrong. I'm just saying it's after the fact that we would have won the game. And it didn't work out that way. What are you going to do?
Yeah, it didn't. Now, before we move on, we talked about the strike year and how you had to play 3 games that year. I think the first one was you played New England, if I'm not mistaken. But then the second one was San Diego before the Jet game. And the reason why I bring that up is because you also took part in what I believe is the greatest game that's ever been played in football, and that's the San Diego Charger. And so what was it like, playing in that game, and now you have the rematch, the following year. But what are your memories from the 81 game?
See, the thing, it's the same thing. We should have won the game. Von Schaman kicked the ground once, and then he kicked a low kick once, and it was blocked. But, I mean, that stuff's going to happen, but not back-to-back. And actually what happened was in the fourth, I think it was the fourth quarter. Which way were we going? Yeah, it was the fourth quarter. We were up by 7, and we were down to the 20-yard line. And Andra Franklin fumbled.
Yeah.
And they recovered, went right down the field and tied up. Now, I think there was 4 minutes left. If he doesn't fumble, we run 2 or 3 minutes off the clock, maybe kick a field goal, go up by 10. They don't come back and tie it in regulation.
No doubt.
And then thing, what it is the season's so long. When a game like that is over, you don't sit there, I wish we won and blah, blah, blah. You're just glad it's over because it was 8 months. Yeah. But then a week later is when you start to get bummed down. The only good thing of losing that game was they had to go to Cincinnati the next week and play in, 40-degree below zero weather. So that wasn't a bad miss on our part.
Yeah, but now let me ask you, because I don't actually know this, and I've talked about it. Would you have to have gone on the road, or you would have?
Yeah.
You didn't have home field advantage for that?
No, we definitely had to go because we all said that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. That's something other. Tell me, Tommy, while I have you, That hook and ladder, did they practice that?
All the time. I was in there on that play. I was on the right side, Tony was on the left side, and I came across the middle to draw the linebackers, and he came underneath me to get the hook and ladder. Yeah, we practiced it every week.
You did? And is it true that I think Nathan, used to tell me that it never worked in practice?
Somebody would always drop it or something. That was definitely true. They pulled that thing on me at Bergen Catholic when I was in high school. I was a linebacker. We killed the split end, and while me and my buddy were killing him, he pitched it, and he went down the sidelines.
Oh, man. So then you hear on the other side.
Exactly.
That's interesting. Okay, so now the Golden Boy comes to town, 83 in Marino, and so now you go from, like you said, a Super Bowl where your offense, had problems, and now you have, Danny come in, and what did that do for you as far as being, an offensive, player on that?
Absolutely nothing.
Really?
Because I got hurt in 83 when he started, missed that whole season, most of next season, and by that time, not more, because he was hurt a little bit when I was playing.
Right.
He came back full strength, and he was a third down back in 84 and 85. So I just returned punts then. By then, I was a has-been. I was just hanging on for dear life every year.
Wow. So here you got him.
Well, that's the thing. The injuries, that's what happened,
And how much of the 84 season were you a part of?
I didn't play at all. 84.
You didn't play at all?
No, 83, 84, because I got hurt 83. I could have played 84, but they didn't activate me because
they
didn't need me.
They go to the Super Bowl. You're not.
I was there and I practiced, and that's when I was traveling with the team, reading defenses and stuff.
Right.
But I didn't play in that game.
And then your career. When did you retire? What was your final year?
No, see, retiring and getting fired are like two different things. I didn't retire. I got cut.
And that was in the 85.
See, when you say retire, that's me making a choice.
Sure.
I didn't have a choice.
Big difference.
It was actually the thing that sucked about it was after the 86 training camp. It was like the last cut, so I had to go through all 6 weeks of training camp before I got cut.
Oh, really? And that's how you found out, and that's when your career was basically over at that point?
Yeah, you know what? I didn't want to play anymore. My knee was up. I went for an interview or a physical out in St. Louis. My knee never was really right after that. I mean, I could still play, but it was still really fragile.
I remember they talked about the work ethic and stuff like that, and you mentioned with the strike year, and a lot of people say that because your team was able to stay together and work out on their own throughout it. And I remember, if I'm not mistaken, a story that was written in a local newspaper, and it showed a picture of you actually working out during that strike. I guess that did play a large part.
It helped, but you know what? We went to some parks down in Miami or to some high schools and stuff, and
right.
We worked out. We tried to do it. I mean, personally, I think that helped psychologically for the team, but physically, I don't think. I mean, we stayed in shape and all, but it just was more of a sign of solidarity between us that we cared enough to do it. I don't think the actual going out and running plays make that much difference.
Right. Now, how about the wear and tear on your body, through then, obviously did it take its share? You're small,
Now, I'm miserable now.
So you still feel effect?
I have a bad knee, a bad neck, a really bad back, bad shoulders. But it wasn't so much from pro football. It was more high school and college because I carried the ball, 25 or 30 times a game.
So you think that is where you're feeling most of the effects?
Except for my knee. I hurt my knee in the pros. Oh, definitely. I didn't get hit that much in the pros. I was a third down back. You go in, if you catch the ball, you get hit, or you return punts. It wasn't like I was carrying the ball 20 or 30 times and getting beat up.
I remember Bobby Monica in the early 80s telling me that he was all excited because he was going to start. If you remember, the Pittsburgh Steelers had Franco's Italian-American Army, and he was going to revamp it and start it when Tommy Vigorito came to town.
Exactly.
That all the time. And then 13, showed up, and he kind of switched it to there. But neither way, he never got it under.
You can't be a copycat. You got to be an original.
No doubt. So now, do you still keep in touch with anybody from past playing days?
I'll get involved in up here with the Nick Bonacani, the Miami Project dinner. So sometimes some guys come up. I saw Nat Moore about a month ago. Sometimes I come down to Florida for a golf tournament or something. I'll see the guys. But, You know what it is? It's not that. It's not that I don't want to. It's just circumstances. You know,
Right.
I have wife and kids, and I have to work, and you know,
Sure.
there's no time for it.
Sure. And tell me, what are you doing now? I know you were involved in the stocks and.
I'm a municipal bond salesman trader.
Okay. And you do that up in the New York area?
I run Wall Street. We're about a block from Wall Street. So we just underwrite a lot of municipal bonds is what we do.
And do you still follow sports at all on your personal time, or is
Golf.
Just golf? So basically.
I watch the games. Obviously, from New Jersey, you know what it's like. I mean, when the weather is horrible on a Sunday or something, you know, I'll watch the games. I mean, I don't like die to watch them or clear my schedule so I can watch them. But if I'm not doing anything, I'll watch them.
Well, I can tell you, I have a bunch of nostalgia as far as the past goes, but the Dolphins are building a new Hall of Fame inside their stadium, and I've been responsible for putting a lot of the memorabilia and things in there, and I can tell you that they're going to be the helmet that you wore, game used jersey.
Oh, really? Oh, that's cool.
Too. So you will be represented.
No, I'll have to come down and see it. I think I'm coming down next month.
So that'll be good.
Yeah.
At least you're represented there.
There we go.
Like I said, you've always been a fan favorite, certainly of mine, and a very popular Miami Dolphin. I'm sure there's a lot of Dolphins that, happy to hear your voice, Tommy.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. I'll look you up when I come down.
My pleasure. You take care.
Thanks a lot, Pat. So long.
Hey, this is Dan Marino.
Hi, this is Larry Zonka.
Hi, I'm Zach Thomas of the Miami Dolphins.
Yo, what's up? This is Tyreek Hill, the Cheetah.
This is Mark Super Duper. I'm John Offerdahl. This is Paul Warfield.
Hi, this is Nick Bonacani. This is Jake Scott.
Gary Premian.
Dick Anderson.
Larry Little.
Mercury Morris.
Tom Vigorito.
This is Don Strock.
Don Nottingham.
Hey, this is AJ Dewey. This is Mark Ingram.
And Jim Crash Jensen.
This is Don Shula, and I listen to the Pat Catello Show.